Hello, friends and fellow lovers of all things beachy. Welcome to The Beach Speaks, the podcast that shares stories about the beach and our connection to it. I'm your host and beach lover, Paige Friend, helping you reconnect with the beach, return to your soul, and reimagine your life. So grab a cool drink, relax in your beach chair, stick your toes in the sand, and enjoy this episode of The Beach Speaks. Hey, beach lover. It's mid-August here at the beach, and well, it's hot. And it's hurricane season, so there's that. Okay, enough about the weather. We have better things to talk about, like, how is the beach speaking to you today? Now, while I typically record guest episodes weeks or even months ahead of time, I like to record these solo episodes closer to the date that they land in your podcast feed because I wanted to feel like I just picked up the phone and called you to say hi and fill you in on what's going on here at the beach. I know it's just me doing the talking, but you, my dear beach lover, you're a really good listener. You've heard me talk about my newsletter, something extra to keep you connected. Well, today I thought it would be fun to give you an idea of the kind of things I would talk about in the newsletter, like things I don't necessarily share in the podcast. Beachy stuff, like a new beach I visited, someone or something beach-related that I'm following, and what I'm currently doing or attempting to do. But before I get into that, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you've noticed that I've been talking a lot about water and Blue Mind. And many of you have shared wonderful stories about how water has impacted your life. And today, I wanted to share one of those stories. It's submitted by my friend and longtime fan of the podcast, Rachel LaPresti. The title of her story is The Water. Rachel writes, I've always felt a calling to the water, and more specifically, the beach. I find this curious, considering my playground was a concrete jungle in my early years of life. And later, when I was older, we moved to the Midwest where we were landlocked, as they say. My childhood experiences of the shore, less than a handful of occasions, were few and far between. It wasn't as if I had experienced some sort of positive reinforcement from fun in the sun family vacations. In fact, I think my first beach experience was with my grandmother, who took me to Coney Island in Brooklyn. I remember the murky, brownish gray water and thinking, I do not want to wade in that. I couldn't see my feet and whatever might be lurking in the polluted water. Grandma seemed sad, not joyful that day as she stared at the water. Perhaps she herself was longing, reflecting on memories of the aqua shores of the Mediterranean Sea where she grew up as a girl. Grandma and I didn't stay at the beach very long that day. My father, an artist, painted on the beach, but rare was the opportunity to take us there, where he would tell my sister and I to pose for him and sit still as his brushstrokes of clown-colored beach umbrellas dotted the landscape background. There, I remember already feeling insecure about my developing body and recall slouching in my bikini to make myself appear small and undetectable while sitting on the sand. Then, as a teen, when we moved to the Midwest, there was no beach, but my boyfriend drove us to the lake where the sun glistened on the water, almost blinding us. The rocks were both soft and sharp on my feet. My boyfriend wasn't motivated by the senses of the shore, but instead by the water's gift of obscuring our hormonal bodies as we kissed in the lake, where he pleaded, "No one can see us," as I pushed away his roaming hands. Upon returning home, my mother met me with great displeasure for having driven so far away and staying out well after dark. No, there weren't pleasant memories of the shore from my past that I could nostalgically nibble on. So why this longing, an instinctual, almost physical need to return to the water for nourishment, to be restored and energized, or for rest and contemplation? Returning to the ocean or the shore, be it large or small, is like coming home to something familiar and necessary. I think most beach lovers understand this visceral reaction to it. The colors and visuals at the beach ever-changing from blues to greens to grays, the various animals scurrying in the sand or gawking and diving from the air, the smell of brine, the salt on my lips, the power of the ocean, and then its gentle lullaby of lapping waves, all contribute to something that can't be explained. We come from water. We are made of water. We must have water to live. Yes, maybe that's it. I'll take it. Thank you, Rachel, for sending that lovely story. And, I can totally relate. And I think the listeners can too, because sometimes our beach experiences aren't all that great, but they still have an effect on us. We go to the beach and the water isn't exactly the clear blue-green color we expected. It might be a little murky. The beach might be crowded, and yet there's still something about it, about the water, that sticks with us. There's a story behind it. And I love it when it's connected to a memory of a loving family member or just an outing that was really special to you. Water, especially at the beach, speaks to our soul. I invited Rachel to spend a day with me at the beach in Paso Grill recently. It's just south of St. Pete Beach. I had never been there before, but Rachel had, and she said it was one of her favorite beaches. We had such a wonderful time. I'll probably write more about my impressions of Paso Grill in the newsletter, but while we're on the topic of water, I wanted to tell you about Waterlust. It's an eco-responsible apparel company that advocates for marine life, and they have the best newsletter. I get a lot of newsletters and information about ocean conservation and marine science, but this one is one that I really look forward to reading because not only is it short and sweet, it's so entertaining. I'll read you an example of one that I just got a few weeks ago, titled Cocaine Sharks. About a month ago, we wrote about a growing concern in the scientific community about active pharmaceutical ingredient pollution, the kind that happens when you flush your prescriptions down the toilet and the chemicals they're composed of make their way through the water system and into animals. It's the reason that trout are addicted to meth, perch are on antidepressants, and in a new study that feels very 2024, sharks are apparently on coke. Yep. Sharks are on cocaine. Researchers off the coast of Brazil collected samples from 13 Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks and found that all of them had cocaine in their system. And of the 500-plus species of sharks, while it feels incredibly on brand for the sharp-nosed to test positive for snow, it definitely is not. Scientists think that the sharks were exposed to the drug through sewage runoff, which raises even more questions like 1. How much cocaine is being used in Brazil? Spoiler, a lot. And 2, what other substances are getting into fish? That's pretty interesting, isn't it? And there are always links to the research and related articles, so if you want to do a deeper dive into the subject, they've got you covered. I'll post a link to Waterlust in the show notes so you can check it out for yourself. They're not a sponsor of the show. I just love this company, and I know you will too. Here's what I'm doing. I've been really into paddleboarding lately, especially at the nearby springs. Recently, Ernie and I started going out on our paddleboards into the ocean right before the sunrise. We even bring coffee in a thermos to share. It's such a great way to start the day. Sometimes it's a challenge getting my board over and past the waves and into the calmer water. I've been knocked over a time or two, but let me tell you, it's totally worth the effort. I'm fairly steady standing up on the board, but when the swells are rough, the idea of falling off into the depths of the ocean with who knows what sea creatures are hanging around, I typically like to sit down cross-legged on top of the board, paddling a little, drifting a little, drinking my coffee and basking in the warm golden glow of the sun rising up over the horizon. We've seen dolphins swimming nearby, and if there are fish around to feed on, they can get pretty close. And there's been an occasional sea turtle bobbing its head in and out of the water, but we haven't experienced any sharks. Yet. Well, once. Ernie thought he saw one, maybe not very close. Just a fin. I try not to think about sharks, possibly high on cocaine and swimming nearby. I just tell myself, relax, enjoy the view. Just don't dangle your feet or your hands off the side of the board, and you'll be just fine. Well, that's about it for this episode. I wanted to keep it short and sweet so you can go out and enjoy your summer. I know it's hot, but you'll figure it out. I love bringing the beach to you, and I want to create content that you'll enjoy and look forward to. So if you've enjoyed this sneak peek into what I share in my newsletter, sign up. It's once, maybe twice a month if I have a lot to share, and it's free. To make it easy, I've posted all the links here in the show notes, or you just go to my website, thebeachspeaks.com. The beach is speaking. Are you listening? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Beach Speaks. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the beachy vibes and share it with a friend. Because, let's be honest, who doesn't want more beach in their lives? And if more beach is what you crave, go to thebeachspeaks.com and sign up for my newsletter. It's an easy way to stay in the know, collect some tips and travel hacks for your next beach adventure, and find out what I'm doing at the beach. And if you want to dive deeper into the ocean of support, consider becoming a Beach Speaks Patreon member. Your contribution helps keep the podcast afloat, and you'll enjoy some cool perks that only our Patreon family gets to enjoy. The beach is speaking. Are you listening?